Welcome guys to a brand new video on solo leveling Arise. In today's video, what I'm going to be doing is going over the best build for each of the SSR characters in the game. Now I have previously done this, but that is kind of outdated right now since that was released at the start of the game. So of course we've gotten more testing right now, so of course I know the best artifact, the best substats for each individual character. So we're not only going to be taking a look at the best artifacts and best accessory, we're also going to be taking a look at the best substats in general as well. I might also go into details of some of the character skill and the skill rotations to fully maximize your character's damage as well. So we're first going to start off with Emma over here. Now before I carry on with the video guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, stay tuned for more content on solo leveling Arise. I will be releasing a lot of videos on this game, so make sure you are subscribed so that you guys don't miss out on those videos. As well as I've already made a video on chae going over the best build, the best stats as well, and I also showcase a DPS and she is broken. So go ahead and check out my previous video on chae. I highly recommend it. Support the channel by liking and subscribing to the channel. Let's get this video to 50 likes right now. Go ahead and support the channel. Okay, so first of all, Emma, there is a couple of builds for each individual characters, but one thing you guys need to pay attention to is the substats. Now there might be characters, for example Seo, who has one like really amazing build, and there's also pretty good builds as well. However, you need to take a look at the substats to see, okay, you know what, I don't have the best build or best substat for this particular gear, so it's better for me to go for the other options that we have and then use that instead. So for example, the Guardian set for Seo is not the best one for her, but for me it is the best one that I have because I am able to get the crit rates from here and a good amount of HP as well. So that's very helpful for her to increase her damage compared to me trying to fit in the best build for her, which is the toughness one, which gives us crit rate and crit damage. However, I have terrible sets and I can't really capitalize on her damage since she needs that crit rate. She absolutely needs that. So there's characters like that as well in the game. So when it comes to Emma, she is a breaker character, so you need to capitalize on her strengths. She needs to break and she needs to do great damage. Now she is a support DPS, she's not a main DPS, so you could try and increase her damage as much as possible with the crit rate and crit damage gear, so the toughness set, which is also a good gear for her. I don't recommend it simply because at the end of the day, she won't be able to deal as much damage as your chae, as your baek, as your choi. So there's no real reason to try too hard in trying to get the best toughness set for her when other characters in the game require this. For example, Seo. Okay, so with Emma, the best one for her is solid analysis. Again, it capitalizes on her strength as a breaker character because you want to break as much as possible, as fast as possible, and then she can deal extra damage to the characters that are broken as well. So it capitalizes on her strength and it's a really good build for her. In terms of substats that are really important for her, crit rate, HP, and defense penetration. Yes, defense penetration, simply because she has a skill called Heat Emission, which already increases the user's defense penetrations increases by 7.77%. so you, again, to capitalize on the strength, focusing on artifacts. I wouldn't say focus on defense penetration at the most, but if you have defense penetration in some of your substats, obviously it helps you guys out. Obviously it increases your damage from that as well. Okay, so I said there's other builds that you can use for her. There's 2 different builds or 3 different builds you can use. You can use the solid analysis to capitalize on her break, or you can go with crit rate and crit damage to increase her damage even more, or you can focus on HP set since she does kill off HP. It's an 8% increase to her HP, and then she also increases their team members attack by 8%, making her a really good support character to the team. The only issue is that in general, flat increase in attack isn't really as good as like a damage increase in other games. I haven't tried it in this game, I haven't really tested it out, but from all the gacha games I've played, damage increase is usually better. So having only an 8% increase in your attack to the rest of the teammates isn't that insane. It's good, but not insane. So, and obviously you get that increased HP, which allows her to deal more damage as well, because of course she scales off HP. But again, I still think the best one is probably the solid analysis, but depending on the crit rates or your substats you have, you can decide whether you want to go on the noblest sacrifice or you want to go on the toughness set for her. Now when it comes to the accessories, there is 2 options I would say, which is execute, well, 3 options in general depending on your playstyle. But since she needs to rotate, so she has a really important rotation that you need to do, which is you need to use burn up. This is a really good insane amount of damage ability. You need to use this because you want to stack heat absorption. So she stacks heat absorption and then it translates that to heat emission. So if you have 15 stacks of heat absorption and then you translate it back to heat emission, you get all of these buffs over here, which is very helpful for you as well. Okay, so again, yeah, so you want to do the rotation. The rotation as important is you use this and then you do her basic attack and then you use the flame cleave, which instantly translates or changes your absorption to heat emission, increasing your damage. So it's important that you do have your cooldowns as short as possible. So honestly, the best accessories for her is not the executioner. It is actually the concentration of power, which actually reduces the cooldown by 18%, which is actually really good and helpful for her. It helps with the rotation of her skills, and also you get an 18% increase to the damage compared to only 20% over here, in my opinion. I do think this is probably better for her, but you also have the executioner as well. Now you can also go ahead and use the berserker. Honestly, berserker will increase whatever damage by 30%. However, as you can see, you need to have 70% low HP, which obviously is not really ideal. So I wouldn't really recommend this one. Although it increases your damage a lot more, it's usually a risky one. So depending on your playstyle, you might not like this one. Okay, next up we got CO. Again, I previously just mentioned this. The best set for her, honestly, is the toughness set, because you increase the crit rate and you increase her crit damage. She needs crit rate, guys. She absolutely needs crit rate, especially when you have her exclusive weapon, because it increases the user's crit damage by a certain percentage. And if you dupe this up a lot, her crit damage increases a lot. So therefore, you need to crit as much as possible. So that's why I'm currently using this set, because this is the only one I have that is good for her with the crit rate and stuff. But the best one is of course going to be this one, but as you can see, I have not a single good one for her. Another good one would be Guardian. Actually, no, Guardian I don't think is that great, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Simply because it does says the user's shield effect is increased by 30%. It is not as good as it sounds, especially when you have a character like CO, who only gives you a 5% increase or 5% shield. So 30% increase to this is only like a 1% or 2% increase. So again, the shield is still going to be breaking as fast as possible. So the shield will break. It's not going to be as tanky. Well, it's not going to be that useful in general. But you do have, of course, when you have 4 sets, you do increase your individual damage by 10%. The fact is though, she can actually use the basic skill multiple times, and she can kind of stack the shield effect, so you can basically increase your damage by 20% as well from this. So that's actually pretty useful if you can get the full set. So I do actually need to change this. I went with this one for the crit rate, but I do think honestly I don't need this, so I probably will go for this one instead. Do I have any other good ones? No, I don't. So I'm probably, yeah, I'm gonna be doing this one instead. I already went over anyway, so it's fine. So I lose a little bit of my crit rate, so I'll go with this one right now. What's my crit rate? 44. Eesh, that is actually atrocious. Not atrocious, actually, it's fine. So yeah, okay. I'm gonna leave it like this because I do want to get that individual damage dealt. Now, when it comes to accessories, honestly, the executioner one is probably the better one, simply because you get that 20% increase in damage, and it's usually better for her. Or you can go with the berserker if you're going to be taking a lot more damage. Again, berserker is a set that you can technically use on any character to increase their damage, but the issue is it makes it kind of risky to use them. So 70%. And then in terms of stats that are important, HP, crit rate, and crit damage. Those are the main important ones for her, as simple as that. Crit rate, HP, crit damage. Now, get crit damage from here, guys. This is the only real way to get crit damage. So I have one over here. I have another one here, but the rest don't really have crit damage. So I'm going to try and get like really good crit damage set for her to help her out. No crit damage. Yeah. Okay, that's going to be really tricky to get the crit damage, but it's fine. Okay, so I think that is it. In terms of rotation, just spam her skills. Trust me, it's that simple. Okay, so next up we got Baek over here. His build is kind of simple as well. In terms of, I'll first start off with accessories, honestly. The Berserker is the only one you should go with, because at the end of the day, this guy's losing HP as fast as possible. He's going to be lower than 70% when it comes to his HP. So increasing his damage by 30% is going to be very helpful for him. Now when it comes to this set, he has 3 different builds he can use. He can either use solid foundation, or you can go ahead and use the armed set instead, which increases user's attack by 5% and also allows him to ignore target's defense. Or you can go ahead and use the toughness set, so capitalize on his crit rate and crit damage. The thing is though, with this set, I only really recommend it if you have his first dupe. The reason for that is because his first dupe allows him to increase his crit rate and crit damage by a huge amount, so 30%. So to capitalize on that, if you have his first dupe, honestly, I do think the toughness set would be the better one. But the issue is, again, a lot of characters need the toughness set. And in terms of substats required, crit rate, crit damage, attack, HP is useful for him as well, but I think attack is just better. They went kind of weird with this character. He needs HP and he also needs attack. It's kind of weird. Next up, we got hae-in over here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the best build for her. Now, I've already done a build video for her, so you should go ahead and check it out. It's more in depth. But the best one is honestly just the toughness set, simply because you do get that increased crit rate, crit damage. It is the best one for her. Or you can change it to the armed set instead, so get increases user's attack and ignoring defense as well. Now, when it comes to the accessories, the best one depends on what you. Okay, if you're going to be staying a long time on her, then the expert one would work for her. But the issue with the expert set is because you need to stack this as much as possible, and stacking, you basically have to be on field to do that, and you don't get an increase in damage straight away. You need to be doing a lot of crit rate. So if you don't have a huge amount of crit rate for her, the expert set is not going to be the best one, because you need crit rate as well for the first skill she has. Because if you land a crit hit, it applies the wards of the sword, which is very important for her. So yeah, you need crit rate, crit damage, so very important. When it comes to the accessories over here, try and get as much crit damage as possible. So it's really good for her, as you can see with my build. Pretty decent, pretty good. And when it comes to skill rotations for her, you want to use this as much as possible. You can spam this, and then you can use the sword of light. And then when you have like the effects on the enemy, then you can then use the ult. Now when it comes to choi, actually I don't know if I said anything about the important stats, but attack, crit rate, crit damage, done. Okay, for choi, easy. All he needs is attack. So when it comes to the best gear, it is honestly the armed set. That's pretty much it for the best one for him. However, if you have this man 3 dupes, if you have 3 dupes on him, then the next one you can go ahead and use is the one-hit kill one. This is because he does deal insane amount of damage with his one-hit kill, so you can further increase the damage even more with this ability over here. And yeah, that's pretty good. So if you have 3 dupes in, then you can go with the one-hit kill, in my opinion. And then for his accessories, it is concentration of firepower or the executioner. I think the executioner one is better, in my opinion, compared to the concentration of firepower. Unless you have 3 dupes in as well, I wouldn't really recommend the concentration of firepower one either. So I do think executioner one would be the better one for him. Next up, we got in terms of stats, that's important, just attack or defense, penetration, or increased damage. So yeah, this is it there. Okay, so boraa. Okay, depending on how you use her, I don't use boraa that often, honestly. So I don't really focus on her being the main DPS and stuff. The only time I ever use her is when I'm using jinchul. So I use her as a support character. So that's why I have this outstanding concentration on her, on her. Now, when it comes to the artifact section over here, the armed set is really good for her, as well as the toughness. Now, I think the toughness one, again, is better for her. She wants crit rate, she wants crit damage, and it's basically the best for her. It's pretty much the best for her. Now, when it comes to this section over here, the accessories, again, if you're using her as a support character, this is the good one for her. However, if you want to focus and capitalize on the amount of damage she can deal, you can use the expert one. I haven't checked, but because she spawns in this little creature, which basically allows her to increase the amount of hits she can do. So if you have good amount of crit rate, you can actually increase the, well, I think they can do crit damage as well, right? They should be able to do crit damage as well on the crit hits. So therefore, it would actually increase the stacking of this as well. Because when you land a crit hit, the user has a 50% chance to increase attack. So with the little minions, you can stack this a lot faster, so it's actually pretty good for her. Or you can just go with the executioner one for damage as well, or you can go with berserker, again depending on what your playstyle is. Are you guys going to be taking damage? Then the berserker is probably the best one for you. Substats that are important: crit rate, crit damage, attack, damage increase, and you're good. For Min, he is a character that is a support character. There's only really 2 builds for him that's good. You can either go with the Destroyer one, which focuses on increasing power gauge acquisition. You don't really need his own power gauge acquisition to be high, but it helps the rest of your teammates as well, because the power gauge acquisition rate is increased by 20% for the rest of your teammate, which is very useful. Or you can go with focusing on, increasing his healing capability. Again, I hate his healing capability. His healing is not that great. So increasing his HP by 8%, how insane is that going to be for his healing? I don't think it's a huge buff, but it is going to be definitely good. And his full set decreases user's attack. He doesn't scale off attack, so it doesn't really matter, but increases the team member's attack by 8%, which is helpful, I guess. But again, damage increase is always better than attack increase, based on the other gacha games I've played. I haven't really tested this out because it's kind of hard to test. We don't have characters like 20% increase in crit damage versus 20% increase in attack percentage instead. Okay, so again, destroyer set, or you can go with the HP set. And in terms of substats that is important for him, it's HP and healing given increase. That's pretty much it. HP, healing, and also damage reduction as well, since he is a support character. And then obviously outstanding connection is pretty much the best one. Or you can go with concentration of firepower, not for the damage but for the reduction in cooldown. But I don't really recommend that. I do think the outstanding connection is the better one. Substats again as important: crit damage, not crit damage, sorry, HP pretty much, and damage and healing increase as well. Next up we got Baek. He is a character that is a breaker. Again, you can capitalize on that by giving him this solid analysis, focusing on crit rate and crit damage for him. I think that's pretty much the best one. Or you can go with toughness set as well. These are the only 2 ones I recommend for him. And then when you go over to his accessories, it is gonna be the executioner one, or you can go with the berserker. Again, depending on your playstyle, how much damage are you going to be taking, you can go with the berserker to increase the damage by 30%. It's all up to you. It's a bit of a risky play, but it's something that will benefit you with the amount of damage you can do. Okay, so that's pretty much it. In terms of substats that is important, he's a character that scales off defense, and you want defense, crit rate, crit damage, and I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, crit rate, crit damage, pretty much it. Next up we got Lim. He has a pretty decent amount of builds you can go with. Either the solid foundation, the armed, or the crit rate and crit damage. Actually no, oh, he has 4 different builds. So again, solid foundation, or the armed set, or the solid analysis, or the... Actually, you can also use the one hit kill, but I don't really recommend it. He has a bunch of really decent builds you can go with, honestly. And then when it comes to this section over here, the accessories, again, you can use the experts if you're going to be staying on field with him a lot, but I don't recommend it actually. Don't stay on field with him that much, because you only really want to use his ult. So you want to get his ult as fast as possible. So the expert really won't really benefit him in general. So I think the executioner one is pretty much the best one. Again, you can use the berserker depending on how much HP loss you're going to give him. Okay, and then you have this character, Break. Honestly, is pretty much the best one for him. And you can also go with crit rate and crit damage, but I will say Break, solid analysis, is the better one for him. And then for this section over here, outstanding connection, because his support skill is pretty good actually. Pretty good in terms of like supportive capabilities. You don't really use him for anything else in my opinion. And then for this character, literally toughness set is the best one for him. You literally need this one, and his damage is good, but you need dupes for him. And then for this section, you can go with berserker, because he's going to be up front with the enemy a lot more, and he does want to take damage. He has shield, I guess, so I do think berserker is probably the better one for him, or executioner. Those are the 2 ones you can use for him. And in terms of stats that are important, it is defense, crit rate, and crit damage. Defense, crit rate, and crit damage. Does he have defense penetration skills? It wouldn't be here, would it? No, it wouldn't. It would be like in here. Let's see. Removes impulses, increases user's defense, shield, instance damage is doubled. So yeah, damage increase, defense penetration, I guess. And if it's just increases damage, crit rate, crit damage, defense penetration, damage increase, Those are the best ones for him. And I'm pretty sure that is it regarding the best builds for all the characters, plus the accessories, as well as the substats that you need for them as well. So hopefully you guys like this video. Stay tuned for more content on Solo Leveling Arise. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's been your boy AC Gamer, and I'm out.